The wrestling world has been played. Every single one of you buying into Seth Rollins' so-called devastating injury has been manipulated by the most elaborate work in WWE history. While you've been sending thoughts and prayers, posting get-well messages, and genuinely believing that the architect is laid up in some hospital bed, Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins have been laughing all the way to WrestleMania. This isn't just another wrestling storyline gone wrong, this is corporate manipulation at its absolute worst. WWE has crossed a line that should never be crossed, using real injury concerns to generate sympathy, drive merchandise sales, and manipulate your emotions for profit. And the evidence? It's been hiding in plain sight this entire time. Let me ask you something, when was the last time you saw a legitimate injury handled this way? When has WWE ever allowed cameras to follow an injured superstar to multiple medical facilities, document every single doctor's visit, and somehow always manage to get the perfect camera angle during these supposedly private medical moments? The answer is never, because legitimate injuries don't come with their own film crew. But here's where it gets absolutely infuriating. While genuine wrestling fans have been worried sick about Seth Rollins' well-being, Paul Heyman has been orchestrating the most manipulative storyline in modern wrestling history. This isn't just kayfabe. This is psychological manipulation designed to make you emotionally invested in a completely fabricated narrative. The timeline doesn't add up. The medical reports don't make sense. The recovery process has been conveniently documented in ways that would be impossible for a genuinely injured performer. And most damning of all, the financial benefits that both Rollins and WWE have gained from this injury are staggering. Seth Rollins' merchandise sales have increased by over 200% since his injury was announced. His social media engagement has skyrocketed to levels he's never achieved as an active performer. Meanwhile, WWE has used his absence to create artificial scarcity around his character, making his eventual return worth exponentially more money than if he had just taken a standard storyline break. This isn't speculation, this is calculated business strategy disguised as human tragedy. Let's examine the so-called injury itself. According to WWE's official statements, Seth Rollins suffered what they described as a career-threatening back injury during a match that, when you watch it back, shows absolutely no moment where such an injury could have realistically occurred. Wrestling fans have analyzed this match frame by frame, and there is literally no spot where the type of injury WWE claims happened could have actually taken place. Professional medical experts who have reviewed the available footage have stated that the mechanism of injury described by WWE doesn't match what's visible in the match. In other words, the injury they're claiming happened couldn't have happened the way they say it did, during the match they claim it happened in. But here's where Paul Heyman's genius becomes truly sinister. He's not just booking a storyline, he's manipulating the real emotions of millions of fans who genuinely care about Seth Rollins as a human being. Every Instagram post showing Rollins in a hospital bed, every update about his slow recovery, every carefully crafted statement about his determination to return, has been designed to maximize emotional investment while minimizing scrutiny. Think about how this has been handled compared to genuinely injured wrestlers. When Roman Reigns announced his leukemia diagnosis, there were no cameras following him to chemo treatments. When Edge was forced to retire due to neck issues, WWE didn't document his medical consultations for entertainment purposes. When legitimate injuries occur, WWE handles them with dignity and privacy. But with Seth Rollins, every single aspect of his injury has been turned into content. His hospital visits have been filmed. His physical therapy sessions have been documented. His emotional struggles have been packaged and sold as entertainment. Does that sound like how you'd handle a real medical crisis, or does it sound like the most elaborate work in wrestling history? The medical inconsistencies alone should have been enough to expose this charade. Real back injuries of the severity WWE claims don't heal according to convenient storyline timelines. Real recovery processes don't pause for commercial breaks and resume when ratings need a boost. Real injured wrestlers don't maintain perfect physique and muscle tone while supposedly being bedridden for months. But perhaps the most insulting aspect of this entire situation is how it's made genuine wrestling fans complicit in their own manipulation. You've been turned into unwitting participants in a storyline that treats your authentic emotions as nothing more than data points in a marketing strategy. Every comment expressing concern for Seth's well-being has been counted as engagement. Every share of his recovery updates has been tracked as viral marketing success. Every dollar spent on his merchandise during his absence has been recorded as proof that the strategy is working. Your genuine human empathy has been monetized and packaged as a commodity. Paul Heyman's fingerprints are all over this operation, and it bears all the hallmarks of his most manipulative booking decisions from his ECW days. But where his ECW manipulations were transparent attempts to blur the lines between reality and storyline, this Seth Rollins situation crosses into genuinely unethical territory by exploiting real injury concerns. The evidence keeps mounting. Social media posts that were supposedly sent from hospital beds contain metadata showing they were actually posted from WWE headquarters. Candid photos of Rollins' recovery process contain production elements that prove they were professionally staged. Medical update videos that were presented as spontaneous contain scripted elements that can be identified by anyone who knows what to look for. But the smoking gun. Multiple sources within WWE have confirmed that Seth Rollins has been spotted at the company's performance center, not for rehabilitation as claimed, but for regular training sessions. He's been seen working out at full intensity, practicing new moves, and even participating in creative meetings about his eventual return storyline. These aren't rumors or speculation, these are verified reports from credible sources who have provided photographic evidence that WWE has worked overtime to suppress. The company has issued cease and desist orders to wrestling news outlets that have attempted to publish these photos, which should tell you everything you need to know about how legitimate this injury really is. Meanwhile, Paul Heyman has been using Rollins' absence to restructure the entire main event landscape in ways that would have been impossible if Rollins had simply taken a storyline break. By removing him through a legitimate injury, Heyman has been able to create new feuds, elevate different talent, and set up long-term storylines that will culminate in Rollins' triumphant return at exactly the moment it will generate maximum financial benefit. This isn't just creative freedom, this is calculated audience manipulation using fabricated medical concerns as cover. The timing of everything has been suspiciously convenient. Rollins' injury was announced just as his character was beginning to grow stale with audiences. His absence has lasted exactly long enough to make fans miss him without allowing them to move on completely. His recovery updates have been strategically timed to maintain engagement without providing so much information that people might start asking uncomfortable questions. Every aspect of this situation has been focus grouped, market tested, and optimized for maximum emotional and financial impact. Real injuries don't follow such convenient timelines or generate such perfectly orchestrated narrative beats. But what makes this situation truly infuriating is how it's damaged the credibility of every future injury situation in professional wrestling. When fans can't trust that injury announcements are legitimate, it creates a cynical environment where genuine medical crises are met with skepticism instead of support. WWE has weaponized your capacity for empathy and turned it against you. They've made you doubt your own instincts while simultaneously making you feel guilty for questioning what should obviously be questioned. This is gaslighting on a corporate scale, and it's absolutely unacceptable. The financial benefits to both WWE and Seth Rollins personally have been enormous. His absence has created artificial scarcity that will make his return worth significantly more money than it would have been otherwise. His merchandise sales during his injury have exceeded his sales numbers as an active performer. His social media engagement has reached levels that active wrestlers can only dream of achieving. This isn't the accidental byproduct of a real injury, this is the intended outcome of a carefully orchestrated business strategy. Paul Heyman's role in this deception goes beyond simple creative booking. He's the architect of a manipulation campaign that has turned genuine human emotion into a marketing tool. His experience in blurring the lines between reality and storyline has reached its logical and deeply unethical conclusion with this Seth Rollins situation. The wrestling industry has always operated on the premise that fans understand they're being presented with predetermined entertainment. But this situation crosses that line by exploiting real injury concerns and genuine human empathy for corporate profit. It's not just a storyline, it's a violation of the basic trust between performers and audiences. When you look at the evidence objectively, the conclusion is inescapable. The inconsistent medical information, the convenient timing, the The perfectly orchestrated media coverage, the suspicious social media activity, and the enormous financial benefits all point to one reality. Seth Rollins' injury is fake, and both he and Paul Heyman have been manipulating wrestling fans on a scale that's never been attempted before. This isn't just another wrestling work, this is corporate fraud disguised as entertainment. It's psychological manipulation packaged as storyline development. It's the exploitation of genuine human emotion for nothing more than increased profit margins and social media engagement. The most damning evidence continues to emerge daily. Wrestling journalists who have tried to investigate this story have been threatened with legal action. WWE employees who have attempted to speak out have been silenced through aggressive non-disclosure agreements. The company has spent more money trying to suppress information about this story than they typically spend on entire pay-per-view events. Does that sound like the behavior of a company dealing with a legitimate injury situation, or does it sound like the desperate damage control of an organization that's been caught perpetrating a massive deception? The medical experts who have reviewed the available information have been unanimous in their assessment. The injury described by WWE couldn't have occurred the way they claim it did, during the match they say it happened in, with the symptoms they've reported. The entire medical narrative is internally inconsistent and contradicted by the available evidence. But Paul Heyman's manipulation goes even deeper. He's not just orchestrating a fake injury storyline, he's conducting a real-time experiment in audience manipulation. He's testing how far WWE can push the boundaries of what fans will accept, how much genuine emotion can be exploited for profit, and how completely audiences can be manipulated when their empathy is weaponized against them. Every aspect of this situation has been designed to maximize emotional investment while minimizing rational scrutiny. The hospital photos are perfectly lit and staged. The recovery updates follow screenwriting formulas rather than medical realities. The timing of information releases corresponds to ratings periods and merchandise launch windows rather than actual medical developments. This is not how real injuries are handled, documented, or reported. This is how fictional narratives are constructed, marketed, and monetized. The impact on wrestling fans extends far beyond this single storyline. By proving that audiences can be manipulated through fabricated injury concerns, WWE has opened a door that should never have been opened. Future injury situations will now be met with suspicion instead of support. Genuine medical crises will be questioned rather than believed. WWE has damaged the fundamental trust between wrestling companies and their audiences, and they've done it purely for short-term financial gain and creative convenience. Seth Rollins' complicity in this deception is perhaps the most disappointing aspect of the entire situation. A performer who has built his career on connecting authentically with audiences has allowed himself to become the face of the most manipulative storyline in modern wrestling history. His willingness to exploit the genuine concern of his fans for personal and professional benefit represents a betrayal of the basic social contract between performers and audiences. The evidence continues to mount that this entire situation has been orchestrated from the beginning. The injury announcement came at a suspiciously convenient time in Rollins' storyline arc. His absence has lasted exactly long enough to create maximum anticipation for his return. His recovery process has followed creative timelines rather than medical realities. But perhaps most tellingly, every aspect of his injury and recovery has been perfectly documented for entertainment purposes. Real injuries don't come with their own camera crews. Real medical situations don't generate perfectly timed content updates. Real recovery processes don't pause for commercial considerations and resume when ratings need assistance. Paul Heyman's orchestration of this manipulation represents the complete commercialization of human empathy. He's taken the genuine concern that wrestling fans feel for performers and turned it into a marketing tool. He's weaponized authentic emotion and deployed it in service of corporate profit margins. This isn't creative genius, this is ethical bankruptcy disguised as entertainment innovation. The financial data tells the entire story. Seth Rollins' earning capacity has increased dramatically during his injury. His merchandise sales have broken company records. His social media engagement has reached unprecedented levels. His eventual return has been pre-sold and marketed in ways that would have been impossible if he had simply taken a standard storyline break. These aren't the accidental benefits of a real medical situation, these are the intended outcomes of a carefully planned business strategy. WWE's handling of this situation